in a minute.
That's fine.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. So we had a scheduled live for 1 p.m. and then we had some technical difficulties. So we are here now. That is the important piece. We've made it. I'd like to just take a minute, and if you're watching with us, take a deep breath in, hold it, and release it. Well, that was mostly for myself and my guests because I feel like we're like, but that's okay. This is life, things happen. Like they don't always work out as planned. The important piece is having a process to work through it. And the process was like, let's not freak out. Sorry to the people who were expecting us at 1 p.m. Thank you for your patience. And here we are. And if you missed the first, little piece of this, you can always rewatch it. That's the great thing about technology. One for technology and one for us. Yoo-hoo! All right. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Jennifer Hart, and I call myself a connector. That just has kind of happened, and I'm embracing it. Like, connectedness is my number one thing. I believe all things in life are connected, and what I've experienced for myself is just how the universe really guides us in this path of life that we have when you are able to tap and tune in and be aware. And so I'm here to connect people and information to each other to help guide them on their path for healing, coaching, education, learning to achieve basically their best and highest self. I mean, that's the best way I can say it. We are connecting today with one of my dear friends, Miranda LaRee. And I always like to talk about how I know people, if I know them, or just how I meet them, because it's always fun. So Miranda and I met through one of our little side ventures called Live, and it's no longer around, but I met so many amazing people from it. I had some awesome experiences, and we've now kept in touch. And so these are some of the people that are in my actual area, Central Northern California. And she's amazing. I love connecting with people who are on the same path. And we are both on a path of spiritual awakening, as I call it, personal development, healing ourselves and growing to be our biggest and best person. And why I wanted to have her on is because she has some amazing things coming up, some retreats, local retreat, and then she has a new program that she's launching. And like I said, I'm the connector. So there's someone out here that needs to hear her stories, and I say stories because it's so freaking powerful. She was on Instagram the other day and she posted this IG reel, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. The stuff that this girl has gone through. And I will be honest, there is some things in here that are hard to hear. So if you have little kids around, just maybe put some earphones in. But at the same time, it's kind of like we want to hide these things from kids, but also it's very important to talk about them. I'm just going off on a little tangent here because kids need to know that these things happen, and so they could be aware for themselves, and they know if something does happen to them, how to move past it, move forward, talk to an adult. I don't know. So that's a whole nother topic in itself, but I just felt like I should share that because it's important. So Miranda, you what? I asked you right as you take a drink.
I said I definitely talk about that.
I think it's important. I do want them to be innocent and have childhood, keep that essence of it. But let's just start. Tell us about your story. I just want to dive right in. Tell us about this Instagram reel that you created, and you had all these different bullet points of all the things that you've experienced and the struggles and the challenges in your life. And if you're open to it, I would love to have you share directly on the live with us now.
I think it started because for so long I felt so alone in some of the things I'd gone through, and life just connected me to so many other people who had gone through similar things. Not yet some visually each story I can connect to somebody. So, there's definitely somebody who's gone through childhood trauma, whether it was violence or sexual abuse. And there's definitely other women who have experienced sexual assault or rape. There's definitely lots of women who have gone through divorce, lots of women or just people in general who have gone through chronic health conditions, and a lot of people who have lost a parent. So those were just some of the things I wanted to highlight and show mainly I wanted to connect with others who had gone through those and show them that like you can find something positive in these horrendous life experiences, and then you take your power back by doing that. And it's very healing when you can find something to be grateful for in absolutely the worst circumstances.
That's pretty powerful. Like to
Did
be
you
able to
freeze?
find something to be grateful for in the worst circumstances, because there's a lot of people who have experienced extreme tragedy. And how do you find that gratefulness in it? And you know what? Guys, I'm just going to back up for a minute because I just wanted to read Miranda's little bio about her. I totally forgot to do that. It was written so small in my little outline here. So I'm going to back up for a quick minute. All right. Miranda LaRee is a mother of 4. She is a kidney transplant recipient and a professional self-healing guide. These are important points. That's why I was like, oh, wait, I got to go back. She has a few initials after her name and some buzzword titles, but that's not where she gets her credibility. That's where we're talking about now. We're also going to talk about that because to me, that is a very important piece. And she spent nearly 2 decades healing her shit from childhood trauma and repressed emotions to depression and anxiety. And now she uses all of those experiences to help people like yourself do the same. Okay, sorry. Side note on that. I had to just add that in there. Okay, so would you be open to sharing some of those specific bullet points of like the things that happened to you? And I ask that because I just find there's a real like power and strength to the authenticity and vulnerability of sharing these like not talked about things, like sweep it under the rug, don't talk about it. And when you share and you're open like that and you say, this happened to me and
Yeah,
this is how I got through it.
there's a
This is
lot of really hard to talk about. Yeah.
yeah. And then you give someone else the power. And I've watched this through myself and through other people to go, oh my gosh, I went through something very similar. Like, thank you. Like, I'm going to take a step forward, or I have support, or I feel seen or heard or acknowledged. So if you are open to it, maybe you could share a couple of like those bullet points. Like, you don't have to get into details, but just like how your IG reel had everything listed. I thought that was so powerful. I don't know. It's up to you. If not, that's okay too. Well, I'll just send them to your IG reel.
No, definitely, because that, like you just said, like it's other people who have shared their stories and have helped me is the whole motivation in it's full motivation in why I share. It's because other people's stories help me so much that I feel like it's almost compulsory. It's like this deep seated obligation to do the same thing for other people. I hope that by sharing my story, I can help someone else. So it started with just right away from the time I was conceived. My mom was a single mom. Like my bio father, he didn't really want to have anything to do with me. He was like ashamed of my existence. And so it is what it is. And then my mom met my stepfather when I was only 18 months old and married him. And she thought he was this really great guy, as narcissists tend to portray themselves as. He is highly manipulative and charming, and a lot of people think he's a great guy when they first meet him. But living with him was a completely different story. By the time I was 2, again, he married my mom when I was only 18 months old, but by the time I was 2, he had broken my arm. By the time I was 3, there were 2 separate incidences where he had beaten and suffocated me to death, apparently, from the stories I'm told by him himself and a close relative of mine who confirmed the stories and filled in the details. He said I turned blue and quit breathing. That's his story. He'd like to say, you quit breathing, you turned blue, when in fact, no, you prevented me from breathing.
Wow.
Then from there, it was just a whole life of extreme violence, a lot of having to tiptoe, walk on eggshells in my home. There was a lot of chaos and trying to manage this, not just adults' emotions, but this violent adult emotions.
Yeah.
And learning to do that became a strength. Yeah, it's a survival skill and it is a trauma response to try to always know emotions. But once you are aware of that and you kind of heal the pain of all of that, it becomes this superpower of like, hey, I'm really great at reading people and reading their emotions and finding out what they need. And I can do that from a place of servitude versus survival.
I love that.
And it's something I appreciate. It's something I appreciate and say, instead of being his victim anymore, I can be like, thank you, which it wasn't his intent, right? He wasn't trying to give me a gift, in accepting it as a gift.
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah.
that's
That's
just
crazy.
early childhood. Been able to shift.
And then what was like the
But it took a
turning
lot of
point?
work. It wasn't just like an overnight thing. It's doing a lot of inner child work, talking to my, oh gosh. You know, one of the things I can say I was gifted with from an early age was self-awareness and metacognition. Being able to, and I don't know if it was because I was a really avid reader, and I was always like enthralled in characters and able to put myself in other people's places because of that, or if it was just really an innate ability. But I was always able to look and see how I was reacting and responding and what could be the cause of that. Um, and so it was throughout my childhood and adolescence that I was consistently trying to figure things out in myself. Um, I attempted suicide twice. Before that, I was cutting. I was drinking a lot of alcohol for a 12-year-old.
That's crazy. But
Oh,
it's true. But it's
yeah,
true.
it is.
There are kids out there doing that. Like, this is the thing, is like, just because I didn't experience it as a kid, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And that's why it's important to have and to get into the world of other people to see what they go through and to just kind of understand, because I could see someone being like, well, you're 12 years old. Why would you be drinking? But you didn't know what she went through. You didn't know what her home life was like. You don't ask her why. So that's why we're here. One of the
As a 12-year-old, I didn't fully understand. It wasn't
Right.
until like I remember I had a water bottle of vodka at school in junior high, and I remember falling asleep in class. And I remember, when class was over and like my teacher waking me up and telling me I had to go to my next class, and I vividly remember being like, oh my gosh, I'm passing out in class. She thinks I'm just sleeping, although I couldn't understand. Now looking back, how did she not smell all that vodka? But maybe she did. I don't know. But I vividly wondered why things were so bad that I was falling asleep in class, and like this whole thing about like I wasn't sleeping at night and I was clearly drinking way too much alcohol during the day that time I was like 13, and starting even evaluating, well, this is going on at home, so it may without any kind of counseling or therapy at that point.
Right. That's crazy. That's actually a superpower in itself. So what was your like actual turning point in your life? For me, I call it like a spiritual awakening. Maybe you don't call it that, but that you kind of said like, okay, like something's not right. Like I have a lot of stuff going on and I want change. I want different. What did that look like for you?
There's definitely a quote that says, I'm gonna mess it up a little bit, but it says something to the effect of, there was one day where I just woke up and realized I never wanted to feel that way again. So I changed just like that. And that's really how it was for me. I was married. I was going through kidney failure. But I was just so miserably unhappy. And there was something about going through kidney failure, and I had this looming kidney transplant coming ahead, which is it is a good thing, right? I was blessed with a little sister who was willing to give me her kidney before I even had to start dialysis. It's a huge blessing. But in that, there's this face with your mortality. Like there's this like I could be dead. If it wasn't for this transplant or modern science, I should be dying right now. I'm literally dying. That's what's going on. My body is dying. And I think that's what the catalyst was in this whole shift of I need to I haven't lived my life for myself at all. At
Yeah.
all. It's always been in survival mode, or literally just in survival mode. So I developed all these coping mechanisms and these needing to please other people and living my life for everyone else in a way that I thought was benefiting others. Later on, I learned how it was destructive to everyone because it was destructive to myself. So I think that's what it was. It was 2013. So I was like 31, and it literally was like waking up one morning and feeling like I can't do this anymore. I've literally reached my end, and it wasn't so much suicidal, but it was definitely I can't live this way anymore. I was so fake, and I was so weighted down with this mask of who I was trying to be, and I had to take it off, or I couldn't breathe. I could not take one more breath of wearing that mask.
Wow, that's really, really, really powerful. And I love that and that's how it happens. Like, I talk about it in my upcoming book called Connected about the catalyst, like for everybody that reaches that point that they're ready for change. It's different. Like for you, it was like mortality, like facing death head on and saying like, have I really lived my life? For me, it was living Groundhog's Day, going to a job that I didn't like. I wasn't going to go anywhere with it. I was living at home with my parents, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, there's so many things I want to do, and I'm just living the same day over and over. Like, oh my gosh. So it looks different for everybody. So if you're watching this, like, what is your catalyst? Maybe it hasn't happened to you yet. I mean, it could be something huge and it could be something small. Like it doesn't like, it's not one way. That's the only thing I can say. And then what was your journey of healing like? Like, I mean, I know that from my own experience, and because I know you, I know it's not a one overnight thing. Like you said earlier, it's been a long journey. And like, if you want to share a little bit about that and kind of what have you learned, and now how like, does it tie into what you're helping other people do?
Looking back, I can see it was kind of almost like the phoenix. A lot of people think the phoenix just rose from the ashes in this glorious, beautiful way. Like, she rises from the ashes. But before she rises from the ashes, she legit burns her nest down. Like she lights herself on fire, burns down her nest, everything around her. She completely has an undoing, a breakdown, a whatever you want to call it. It ends everything, destruction, right? Before she can regrow. And that's what I did in my divorce, which is still kind of hard to talk about just because I don't want to ever hurt my children in that regard.
It doesn't feel good, don't.
But if I'm honest, I did not know who I was or what I wanted or any of those kind of things when I was a very broken little kid when I entered that relationship. And as I came to and facing that mortality, and when I couldn't live that way anymore, I decided to stop living that way, and I burned everything to the ground. I ended everybody thought we were this perfect couple and like this ideal, right? We were like goals, and like, we totally lived that all-American dream, and nobody could understand why I would burn that to the ground. But I did, and it was by far the hardest but best choice I ever made for myself.
Yeah. And I feel like you said for myself, because you had already said it earlier, a lot of people were affected along the way, but we know now that sometimes like that fall apart and those broken pieces have to all be broken so it can be rebuilt even better with you as the foundation, right? Yeah.
It was
like yourself.
Isolated road.
Yes.
But it led to all of the best things in my life. From there, I had a whole new circle of friends. My previous friends had really kind of abandoned me. Like I said, they just didn't understand.
Yep.
And that was okay. It's not like I was ever going to speak ill of my ex-husband because it really wasn't anything to do with him. It was all me, and I can own that.
Yeah.
But from there, I had started the first like really cool thing I did was start this group called Flourish. And it was really an awesome community type group, all women. And we just got to be really authentic and supportive of each other. And that was like the first cool thing I ever got to do.
And then what other kind of things did you do in your healing journey that you're incorporating into your upcoming retreat and into your new program that you have coming out?
Oh gosh, I think um, it has a lot to do with my parenting. I started to really evaluate the way I was parenting and the cycles, the chains I wanted to break, the things that I had brought in from my childhood and was reciprocating or replicating. And I wanted to stop replicating those. Um, my girls and the age gap from my boys is 5 years from the youngest daughter to the oldest boy. And my girls and my boys have been raised very differently just because of my healing journey and how I parent. My girls had a very strict mom who was very controlling and about image and about what we were showing the rest of the world. And so I had to, throw all the super cutesy birthday parties and be room mom and, help out the teachers and coach soccer. I fucking hate sports, Jen. I hate sports. I coached soccer and softball because I thought it was like the cool, good thing to do, right?
Right.
But I hate sports. My boys have had a much more authentic mom, and I try now to parent more from letting them lead, trusting my children and not trying to control my children.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, but knowing how greatly my childhood affected me and how greatly my mother's childhood affected her and seeing the chains, I knew I needed to break those, and I didn't want to continue to pass on trauma to my children.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the biggest reasons.
I think that's so huge. I was talking about this with my friend, and she brought up a really good point. And she was like, I think that our parents just always try to do better than their parents did. And I was like, you're right. And what that produces is like a 1 to 5% growth per generation. Now, if you stop and you take the responsibility to look within and at yourself and to decide to heal your shit, then you can actually like exponentially grow that change percent from like 5% to like 80%. It's never going to be 100%. We are not perfect people. We're not perfect human beings. It's only going to continue to improve. But it's like if we can inspire people by sharing our stories and empower them to take control of their own lives and say, where are we being inauthentic? Where can we do better? Where might we have some pain and some hurt? And look at that with loving curiosity, exploration, as I call it, and just like discover what's waiting there for us. Because that was me. Like, I didn't even know that I did not know myself. Like, it was a huge blind spot. And everyone's like, oh, it's kind of like you said. It was like, here, I'm just doing all the things I'm supposed to do. And I think it's normal. And no one's ever told me different. And I never questioned it. I did question it, but I didn't know enough to like know. And people be like, oh, Jen, you totally know yourself. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Thanks. I do then. Then like when I started in my little spiritual awakening, I was like, yeah, no, I really don't. Like, and even now I'm still learning things. I question a lot of things. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, like, do I really like that? Or do I like it because everybody else likes it and I'm supposed to like it? And I feel like that happens to me so much. It's like when a new movie comes out and everyone's like, it's the best movie ever. And then I go and I see it and I'm like, okay, I don't know if like it just got hyped up too much or if I just don't agree. And like, that's the thing is nothing is a one size fits all. So I'm always about like, let me go explore it for myself and see what I feel about it because maybe I don't like it. Maybe I love it. I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about real quick why we're kind of getting on the subject of it, the credentials piece. So you specifically said in your bio when I wrote that or when I read it, I was like, yes, we have to talk about this. So I actually personally want to talk about it because I got stopped. Like, I went to go talk to this lady about this event I wanted to put on and she goes, what credentials do you have? And I was like, oh, like I don't have like, I didn't train or go to a certification or anything. So then I just stopped what I was doing and I really took my gifts away from the world at that point. And then, the universe guided me back and gave me a support group. I didn't have the support, which is why doing programs and retreats and things like that is very important, because you will get connected with people on the same journey as you. Like, I started a Facebook group now so that people have a place to come for support. If they want a cheerleader, like, positivity is my number 2 strength, and includer is my number 3. So I'm really good at those things. And going to like a retreat, you just get this bonding with people that like you may not have anywhere else outside in your family, in your work group. And what I came to find out is I don't need those credentials. My credentials is life. My credentials is my experience. And my credentials is that I have done things that other people haven't done. Like, I know a lot of people that have sold all their stuff and traveled around the world. It's like, and I attend so many like workshops and personal development stuff that I can teach that to other people who are just starting out on their journey. So tell me like your perspective on it, because I'm 100% on board. And I think we all have gifts and stories to share. Every single person, you watching this right now, you have something to share with someone. Like, you need to get on the platform, whether you're, I know she's live on her Facebook too. All the people that like everybody has something that they can help someone else. And like, my mission is to bring that together and to say, let's pull out all of our gifts, our stories, our experiences. Let's hold hands and get in a circle and like partner up. Like, who can you help? And people want to help. It makes them feel so good. Okay, sorry. Side tangent. Go ahead.
I'm 100% in agreement. I believe that our stories are the most powerful teachers. I will tell you, I have learned more from other people's stories than I have in any workshop, course, classroom, any of that. It's someone's actual personal experience story that I've had the most aha moments. One of the sentences that saved my life was just a girl doing her TED Talk, and she said, "There's more to life than being healthy." That sentence saved my life while I was in my office. I was on life support. All my life before that, I was obsessed with obtaining perfect health. I was a nutrition coach. I believed all in holistic and natural medicine. I worked out twice a day. I was a long distance runner. I ate nothing but pure, clean, organic foods. I was obsessed with obtaining an elusive perfect health.
Yeah.
And when she said those words, as somebody battling cystic fibrosis, who had been literally dying her whole life, I was like, oh my God, there is more to life than being healthy. There is. I was on life support and was like, I can still live my life. I was dying. This was after the first transplant. I had lost the first transplant, and I was waiting for a second one. And I had just gotten the news that I had 100% antibody level, which means I would reject 100% of any potential matches. My team literally told me I had a 1 in a million chance, like finding a needle in a haystack, of ever receiving a match, and that I would likely spend the rest of my life on dialysis. And that news first was extremely devastating. But then after hearing Claire Wineland's words that there's more to life than being healthy, I was like, all right, I've got to make the best of this. I don't want to waste the rest of my life just because I'm on life support. I don't want to, spend the rest of it in bed depressed just because I'm on life support. How can I take this and still live the very best life I can? How can I live a life that I can be proud of despite what I was going through? And it's stories like that I feel like, fuck the credentials. I mean, I've done them because I felt like, I needed them just to have some credibility, right? And there's definitely some value in going through those courses and passing those tests and, and doing that, but not as much as applying all the things I've learned in my life from the actual experience, and then using those to help other people.
Yeah.
I've used theirs to help me. That's what I find most beneficial.
Well, and the thing is I'm not discrediting or saying anything not to get credentials, because I agree. Like, it's tools in your toolbox. But like, what I just want to really express to people is you can help people with having like those certifications. Like the thing for me is, you know, I'm not a direct healer. So the tools in my toolbox of the healing practices I have those and I can pull them out if needed, but that's not my gift. My gift is connecting the healers and the people seeking healing or coaching together. And it's like also inspiring people to share their stories because like you said, it's so freaking powerful. And you know, it depends what you want to do too. So like if you're doing chiropractic work, yeah, you need some credentials, right? I want to say because people get all technical and stuff when you talk. So I'm like, let me just, for disclaiming purposes, you definitely need credentials for some things, but you can help people all the time. And that's like why I said earlier with sharing your personal experiences that had happened is super powerful because you may change someone's life. And there's people that have changed my life by just like one small interaction that like I don't even know their name. I don't know, like I'll never see them again. They have no idea. And that's how freaking powerful the connectedness of the world is. And like that's what my book's about is my stories, my experiences, my learnings, my reflections, and how we're all here like as a whole. Like we live our own life every day and we have to, but like we're here as a whole. So that's super awesome. Let's talk about your upcoming retreat. And, you know, you have your program too, and they're kind of like one and the same with two different focuses.
Are very small. The retreat is definitely going to be a lot more concentrated, very intense. Think of it as a super intense healing workshop. We're gonna hit you and we're gonna hit you hard. We're gonna make sure you heal your shit because I don't want you to have to spend years and years. I want to just give you as much tools as I can as quickly as I can. And so we created this super amazing, powerful workshop. It's actually 15 workshops crammed into 4 days.
Wow. Woo. Yeah. That's intense. Wait, real quick, is this women only? I just want to put it out there. I don't want to get like men all excited. And I am going to bring on some men that do men only stuff. That is in my realm of things. So I just want to shout out to the men.
For sure is women only just because of the level of vulnerability that we need. And sorry guys, until you guys get your shit figured out, women don't feel 100% safe around men. That is just so
there's a truth to that. I just want to like say, because from my own experience, I have done a lot of workshops with men and women, and I have noticed in my own healing that like I am way more vulnerable if I'm one-on-one with a woman healer than I am with a man. Like it's interesting. And so that tells me that I have some stuff to heal within that realm. So just, and men are coming up. I want to give them credit. I've been seeing a ton of men coming and doing work and healing their stuff and coming together. And we both need to support each other in healing separately and then coming together and healing together. Like that's another one of my missions.
We have upcoming workshops planned for next year that will be co-ed. One specifically for couples, but this one is for women only. That's what it is. However, I do offer one-on-one work with men.
Okay, cool. Good to know.
Group setting and the type of healing we're going to be doing, ladies, you're completely safe. It's just us. So this workshop is going to be strictly for females.
Awesome. And what can someone expect to get from the workshop? So just like after they leave, they're going to have obviously healing results, and you're going to be doing interactive things during the time.
Yes, we have 15 courses that we're going to go through over the 4 days. Everything from, and we're going to start with the very basics in just like detoxing your vibes and getting vulnerable into deep healing work such as conscious breath work and moving into expression and expansion. And we're going to really pull all of that stuff out of you that's been just dying to come out, that has been calling and crying for you to pay attention to it and heal that shit. Because that way you don't have to just live off of trauma responses anymore. And you'll have these tools, these really real life tools to utilize even after you leave. And then we also still are going to be giving some complimentary coaching after the retreat too. So we continue to support these women after they leave, because I've been to too many of these workshops and retreats where you're just like left to your own devices once it's over. And I'm not going to do that to these women. We're just not. We're going to make sure that they are fully supported.
Awesome. And then so it is local here. It's at Pinecrest, right?
Yeah, it's going to be at the Pinecrest Chalet, November 4th through 8th. And we do have 3 spots that have recently opened up that that are still available. So
okay, so limited spots. There's only 3 left. And then is and the pricing, is it food and lodging included?
Yep, food, lodging, all of your stuff, workbook, everything is included. You don't have to worry about anything else. And that payment is $1,280 for a private queen bedroom.
Sweet. Okay, that's a really good deal. In case people don't know, that's a very good deal. That's obviously if someone wants to come into our area, or if you live local, go ahead and shout out. If you know Miranda, we have a lot of mutual friends. Reach out to her or reach out to me and I'll get you connected to her. If you don't know her personally, I do know all of the people who are I know almost all of the people who are facilitating the workshops. They're all phenomenal. I've worked with all of them.
Best-selling author Anna Ennis. We have a remarkable, talented healer, Nicole Ottman. And we have some beautiful yoga instructors. This can also include yoga and meditations. And the whole team is amazing. I cannot believe how lucky we are to have them all.
They really are. I can definitely attest to that. I know them all personally. And then if someone can't make the retreat, you are now offering, or they could do the retreat and your program. Either one would work. You have your one-on-one, right? So tell us a little bit about the one-on-one.
So for one-on-one, I wanted to be able to, for people who couldn't make the retreat, or for men who are interested in healing their shit. I also have a 12-week program, so over just like 90 days. So my next one is going to be launching October 1st, and I'll carry you through the holidays, so that January 1st comes and you're like, you've got these new tools and you will have a brand new 2022. You can totally change the entire trajectory of your life in the next 90 days. And so 2022 and beyond can be a completely different story than what you may already have coming up for yourself.
That's amazing. And honestly, it's like the perfect timing to everybody at the end of the year. And especially like December is like, oh my God, like I need to change myself and do all these things. So it's like amazing timing, first of all. And Miranda is awesome. I've been to many of her events. She holds a safe space. She's very loving and kind and gentle and smiley. Look at this smile all the time. So she's awesome. And if you have any questions and you want to inquire more, same thing, reach out to her if you know her, or reach out to me and I will get you connected. She is doing a limited time pricing that is like deeply discounted. I feel like that's very important to say, because it is highly discounted, and this is going to happen one time around and then that's it. So if you need to heal some shit, like inquire, reach out to her. She'll give you all the details and take advantage of the pricing that's available. If you feel like she's your guide, your self-healing guide, that's the perfect way to say it. I love that. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just on the pricing, it was, I see through my social media feeds, like just so many people are engulfed in fear right now and devices. And I just felt really pushed to like help everybody, because I could see their inner traumas being displayed in their Facebook posts and their Instagram posts. And I was just like, that's coming from this, it's coming from that. And so I wanted to make this really reachable to just about anybody. So it's like 1/3 of my normal price.
No, and it's really needed right now. It is so needed. Can you tell, like, real quick, because I meant to say this earlier, can you just like tell people what a trauma response is and give an example of it?
So a trauma response really is any kind of response you're doing unconsciously, because that's coming from somewhere that you're not even fully aware of, because of something else you experienced in your life that your body interpreted as trauma. So even if you're not fully aware that it was traumatic, it doesn't have to look like some extreme violence. It doesn't have to look like you were, thrown through walls. It could literally be like, I experienced this one moment where a kid teased me, but your body internalized it, kept it. You didn't work through it. You didn't have a healthy coping mechanism to release it, and so it constantly seeks attention. It seeks your attention, and it comes out in usually small ways like judgment or in your anger. It may trigger you to cry and you don't even understand why. So those are some very basic understandings of trauma responses. They can get deeper and more complicated though too.
Absolutely. But because I feel like the word trauma, we think of, very big, tragic things. And I say this all the time. And so I want to repeat it. And then I want to have you repeat it, is that it can be something as little as, like you said, being made fun of by your friends. Yep. And then that got stored in your subconscious brain or your body. And you have this repetitive pattern that, like, maybe you're hiding out in life. Maybe you don't want to do videos for your business because of fear of rejection or being left out or whatever the case may be. And so it's so, so important. Like, I cannot encourage people enough to explore themselves and to just be curious and say, like, why do I act that way? Like, why does that make me so mad? Like a trigger, like if you have a trigger and something just easily sets you off, I mean, that there is nothing louder than a trigger that, like, there's something underneath there to go look at and evaluate. So, well, awesome.
The time we're asking people to be more sensitive to other people's traumas. Like, you can't, like if we talk about miscarriage or we talk about infertility, a lot of women get like, hey, don't ask me these questions. But really those questions, if somebody simply innocently asks like, hey, when are you going to have kids? That's a total innocent question. But we're like, hey, that's the trauma response. If you're infertile is, that's a rude question. When it wasn't asked rudely, it was asked completely innocently. So that's just a very mild example of like a very simple trauma response.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Like, some of the training I received is a question is just a question. We are the ones that give it meaning. And usually the meaning we give it is based upon our experiences, our history. Like, yeah. And, if I'm super sensitive to something, I now know that there's something for me to look at behind there. Like, why is that a trigger? Like, why is that? Why is it offending? Like, and it wasn't with good intentions. Intentions are also important. Loving and pure intentions. Now, if you have ill intentions, that's a completely different story. But we won't go into all that.
On trauma responses, if you're coming at somebody with some kind of ill intention, that's your own trauma response too.
Right. Exactly. See, so it's like, it's so interesting. I got it in my book. So. Well, thank you for joining me today. And if anyone is interested in connecting with Miranda, just let me know and I will absolutely get you connected. You can send me a private message or leave a message in the comments. I'll check up on those. And thank you so much, Miranda, for your authenticity, your vulnerability, your time, and everything. I just really appreciate it. And I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's such an honor.
You are welcome. It's not the last one, that's for sure. It's just the beginning. It's just the beginning for us. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have an amazing